This is Yellowhorn, also known as Xanthoceras sorbifolium. The sorbifolium is, the genus Sorbus is the mountain ash in the rose family, and these leaves look a little bit like that. They are not related in any way. This is a plant that I've been trying to grow for many years. I think I first heard about it from Lee Reich, and it's really interesting because there's some research in China and a couple other places where they're looking into this as a biofuel and an oil seed. I don't remember offhand the oil profile. I think the seed is like 80-something% oil, so it's just incredibly oily. You can taste it when you eat it. It's just like there's really no starch or much protein. It doesn't have a particularly amazing flavor. It's pretty decent, but I can see why it would be used as an oil seed because the flavor is not extremely compelling, but apparently it's quite a healthy, looks like it'll be quite a healthy oil. So it's also pretty gorgeous. This one is probably five years old, in quite a bit of shade over here. This is basically due south, so it doesn't get much more than half a day of sun here, and it doesn't like that at all. It's leaning extremely hard towards the sun, and branches that were growing out to the west there died off. Now, I think a lot of people try with this plant and then give up, myself mostly included. Well, I guess I didn't give up now because I tried again this year. But the reason being that they just tend to die with no explanation. I planted maybe half a dozen in the landscape, and this is the only one left. No, I shouldn't say that. There's a few other stragglers, but this is the only one that's sort of thriving, and there doesn't seem to be a really good reason. I think maybe they're just marginally not so hardy in zone 6, although they're supposed to be hardy to zone 5, but it doesn't seem like it's quite just about the cold hardiness. There seem to be some other factors at play. It definitely likes dry soil. It seems to be adapted to a drier context in Eurasia than what we normally get here, but it's not like it gets fungal diseases and gets all funky either. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on, but to me, it's worth it to keep trying, just because sometimes there's just a real bump to get over in establishing plants, and then once they're established, they're good to go for a while. So I feel the same way about nut pines. Really hard to get them going, but I think once they're going, then they're good for like 1,000 years, which seems worthwhile. The bloom is pretty incredible because they have this sort of, the bottom ones will open, and then the opening flower pattern goes out toward the tips, and then the bottom ones start to get this kind of pinkish coloration, and then by the end of this process, the ones at the bottom here will be closer to like red-orange, and then the ones at the tips will be white, so you get this kind of crazy, somewhat of a red shift rainbow going on in each flower raceme or whatever, panicle. I don't remember which one this is called. Anyway, let me go show you a couple other ones in the nursery. They are highly desirable for rodents, seeds. These just germinated maybe a couple weeks ago, and I put them in here. They had pretty bad transplant shock, but I think they'll make it. Here they are, the same cohort planted out in the landscape, well, nursery bed landscape. And then these ones are from last year. These must be 2-year-old. Yes, These have been in the ground for 2 years because they're already flowering, which is pretty wild. I didn't know that they could do that early. So these ones, they all survived. I even dug some out and sold some of them. So it seems like, I don't know, it's really hit and miss, but I think it's worth it to keep swinging, I guess, a little bit, because I don't have any pictures of the fruit. Maybe I'll check and see if I do. It's sort of a it's like a big green pod that opens up, and then a few nuts are in the pod, and it seems like it would be really easy to do a pretty non-invasive mechanical harvest, because you kind of, when they're ready, you kind of shake it and those fall off, and then the nuts just fall right out. So it seems like it would be really easy to scale this plant up and harvest it. Now, it doesn't seem to yield a lot to my eye, but the studies that I saw from China say that, you know, on the acre scale, it does have a pretty seriously good yield, especially for a perennial. So anyway, something that I'm going to keep working with.